bard, a cleric, and a sorcerer.
No, Ted, not another word, not another one of your terrible jokes or lame puns.
No, jerk, I was just talking about the new classes that are going to be in the Unearthed Arcana.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should talk about that. Unearthed Arcana Part 2 for 2020 for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchy Dave, and as usual, I'm hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
If you want to continue to see us do terrible bits, make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Attune to that notification bell so you don't miss a single video.
It's time for us to talk about another Unearthed Arcana. We have part 2 for the subclasses for 2020. Before we jump into that, I just want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Nord Games. They've got a Kickstarter up right now. They're kicking ass, and they're almost 3 times the number they needed for their goal. So they're going to be unlocking stretch goals, and I feel like this is a Kickstarter that for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons that we really, really needed.
I think tool sets are something that there's not a whole lot of rules for, and alchemy, crafting, and enchanting is something that I feel just 5th edition could really get behind, but the rule set that's there is lacking. So I think this is an excellent book. Based on the Kickstarter page, it looks like there's going to be subclasses dedicated to this. I am really excited for it. I've already backed it. If you want to help out the channel, help out the sponsors by checking out the link down in the description below.
The ultimate guide to alchemy, crafting, and enchanting for 5e. All right, so I'm going to grab my handy-dandy device so I can pull up the Unearthed Arcana.
Grab my dead tree version, because I like to have the physical thing here. So as we stated, we have 3 different subclasses that are being released in this one. One for Bard, one for Cleric, and one for Sorcerer. So first up, we have the College of Creation. Bards believe the multiverse was given existence through word and sound, esoteric harmonies that continue to resound through existence, the song of creation. The bards of this college draw on this ancient power through performances of dance, music, or song to bring into being that what they need most. Members of this college might have developed their powers during experiences on other worlds or planes of existence. Those who have seen the commonalities of multiple realities might have learned how to tap into the truths most mortals glimpse only for a moment. Alternatively, the bard might have found themselves out of step with their own home plane, reality, or time, their connections to elsewhere allowing them to manipulate the space around them. Regardless of where a bard draws their powers from, other performers might be drawn to them, either to learn their secrets or to put an end to their dangerous manipulations of the song of creation.
So at 3rd level, we start off with Note of Potential. You can manipulate the Song of Creation to summon a floating magical note of possibility. Very anime style or video game style. Whenever you give a creature a Bardic Inspiration die, you can create a Note of Potential. The note orbits within 5 feet of the creature. The note is a tiny object that is intangible and invulnerable, and it lasts until the Bardic Inspiration die is lost. A creature with a note can use it in the following ways. Note of Destruction. Immediately after the creature rolls the Bardic Inspiration die to add it to an attack roll, the creature can expend the note to create a burst of sound. Each of the creatures within 5 feet of it must succeed on a Constitution saving throw, your spell DC save, or take thunder damage equal to the number rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die. Note of Protection. Immediately after the creature rolls the Bardic Inspiration die and adds it to a saving throw, the creature can expend the note to gain temporary hit points equal to the number rolled on the Bardic Inspiration die plus a Charisma modifier, provided the creature doesn't already have temporary hit points. Note of Ingenuity. When the creature rolls the Bardic Inspiration die to add it to an ability check, the creature can expend the note to roll the Bardic Inspiration die again and choose which roll to use. So now we've got this note of potential that you could throw up into the air. And there's 2 things about it that kind of changed the mechanics of the game as we know them. First one being Note of Protection, and the way it words your temporary hit points actually goes against how temporary hit points generally work.
Normally, when you get temporary hit points, if you were to get a second set, you would choose, which one. Oh, I get 4 from here.
No, you wouldn't choose. You would take the most.
Okay. I was giving the option, but you're correct. You would take whichever was greater. This one is just saying if you already have temporary hit points, you cannot gain this, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. The other one is essentially the advantage mechanic on a secondary die with the Note of Ingenuity of rolling a bonus but you choose which die to use. Now, I've toyed around with this mechanic in magic items that I've created because I think you've already got the set there, so it's cool to see something that I've used in my homebrew rules, being coming into official canon.
I guess there's a little bit of a precedent too with like great weapon fighting style as well as
Savage Attacker.
Savage Attacker, yeah, is an even closer analog.
It's definitely cool. So I like seeing that. At 6th level, they get Animating Performance. Your mastery over the Song of Creation allows you to magically bring items to life. As an action, you can target a larger, smaller, non-magical item you can see within 30 feet of you and animate it. The animate item uses the dancing item stat block and is under your control for 1 hour or until it is reduced to 0 hit points. In combat, the item shares your initiative count, but it takes its turn immediately after yours. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it can take on its turn is a dodge action, unless you take a bonus action on your turn to command it to take one of the actions in its stat block or the dash, disengage, help, hide, or search action. When you use the Bardic Inspiration feature, you can command which action your animated item takes part of as the same bonus action. Once you animate an item with this feature, you can't do so until you finish a long rest or until you expend a spell slot of 3rd level or higher to use this feature. You can only have one item animated by this feature at a time. If you use your action and already have a dancing item from this feature, the first one immediately becomes inanimate.
That's interesting, the fact that you can now, incorporate 2 actions in your bonus action, essentially. You can give out inspiration, and you can also command your dancing item.
So, and they're not linked in any way, shape, or form other than taking the same action, which, considering the Bard so often needs that bonus action for Bardic Inspiration, it does limit, the other things that you could get using magic items or other different mechanics that already exist in the game. So I like that they've incorporated that in there, because it would be a deficit to the Bard. Be like, oh, well, I can either inspire or command. Nope, you get both.
Now, this feature also has a very Beauty and the Beast kind of feel to it with creating the dancing items. The dancing item itself, you get a stat block for it, and it's pretty bumpy. It's not bad at all. Hit points equal dancing item's Constitution modifier plus your Charisma modifier plus 5 times your level in class, so it gets a decent amount of hit points. I mean, we're getting this at 6th level. That's 30 right there. It's got a 16 con. That's 33. So probably at least 36, 35.
Yeah. And it's immune to poison. It's got condition immunities, and it's got, essentially the Endless Waltz, which, when it makes an attack, it can take the dodge action. So therefore, things that are going to attack it are going to do so at disadvantage. It's got a decent armor class at 16. So I think that's actually going to, have it stick around for longer than it really should.
And it has a decent attack, a melee attack using your spell attack modifier, 5-foot range, 1 target you can see, and it's a die 10 plus your charisma modifier in force damage.
That's hitting hard, and it's force, which so few things are resistant to.
So next up, we have Performance of Creation at 14th level. Your performance can manipulate the magic of creation, briefly transforming the world around you. As an action, you can create 1 non-magical item of your choice in an unoccupied space within 10 feet of you. The item must appear on the surface or in a liquid that can support it. The gold piece value of the item can't be more than 20 times your bard level and must be large or smaller. A tiny, glimmering, intangible note floats around it, and a creature can faintly hear music when touching it. For example, items that you can create, see armor, weapons. So basically go to the player's handbook, things in there. The created item disappears at the end of your next turn unless you use your action to maintain it. Each time you use your action in this way, the item's duration is extended to the end of your next turn up to a maximum of 1 minute. If you maintain the item for a full minute, it continues to exist for a number of hours equal to your bard level. Once you create an item with this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest or until you expend a spell slot of 5th level or higher. To use this feature, you can have only 1 item created by this feature at a time. If you use the action and already have an item from this feature, the first one immediately vanishes.
All right, so this is actually, kind of cool. It gives you a lot of options. And I definitely see that there's, going to be some, potential for manipulation with this of like, oh, I create an item and it's got, motes floating around it. You touch it and you hear music. oh, well, this is clearly a magic item, so I'm going to concentrate on it for a minute. I'm going to go sell this to a vendor. This is clearly really cool. And then I'm going to walk away with, the money, and their sword's going to disappear.
Yeah, so this one is kind of got like boundless possibilities depending on how creative your players are. You never know what they're going to use it for. Hey, you need to cross a body of water, and you don't have a way to do it. So now you can just create a boat essentially and get the party across. That's kind of cool. So there's different things you can do. And we also get the mechanic of expend a spell slot, get to use the item again to refresh it. I like that as well.
And I love that fact that the Unearthed Arcana is bringing in that you can use spell slots to reinvigorate these powers. It doesn't just have to be a long rest. I absolutely love it.
So next up, we have a Cleric domain. Obviously, you get those at first level. And we have the Unity domain. A sense of oneness shines at the heart of healthy communities, whether bound together by friendship, blood, faith, or some other uniting force. The gods of Unity deepen such bonds and delight in their strength. Clerics of these gods preside over marriages and other familiar bonding customs, but they also nurture the emotional bonds of friendship and camaraderie. Their divine blessings bolster and protect allies in battle through these deep bonds and turn aside malign influences. And we get this nice little list of deities from different pantheons, and some of them are from mythology, some of them are from D&D multiverses. So you check that out. It's kind of cool to add to your game. And as always, we get our domain spells that we are going to automatically know. At first level, we get Heroism and Shield of Faith.
We get third level, we have Aid and Warding Bond.
Fifth level is Beacon of Hope, Sending.
Seventh level, you have Aura of Purity and Guardian of Faith.
And ninth, Greater Restoration and Rari's Telepathic Bond. So you get a really good selection of spells there.
We also get at first level Emboldening Bond, which is the core staple of this particular character class. You can forge an empowering bond between allies. As an action, you can choose 2 willing creatures you can see within 30 feet of you. This can include yourself, and create a magical bond between them. While other bonded creatures within 30 feet of each other, the creature can roll a d4 and add a number roll to the attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw it makes. Each creature can add the d4 no more than once per turn. The bond lasts for 1 hour or until you use this feature again. You can use this feature once, and you regain all ability to do so when you finish a long rest. You can also expend a spell slot to use this feature again.
So it's kind of cool. You get like a mini bless for two of the members of your party, yourself, someone else, or 2 others.
And there's no concentration.
No concentration.
Which means you could totally stack Bless on top of this.
You could stack Bless on top of this. You could stack Guidance on top of this. So you could get the 2d4 for certain checks. It's kind of cool. Now I want to make like 2 players that are like bro dudes, and the Cleric just constantly casts it on those 2.
Or, just to see.
And they just encourage each other. Bro, dude, you can totally do this. You got this.
That would be pretty funny.
Next up, we have our Channel Divinity is Shared Burden at 2nd level. You can use your Channel Divinity to protect your allies through the strength of your shared bonds. When a creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to choose a number of other willing creatures. You can see up to the number of creatures equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1 creature. Distribute the damage taken between the original target and the chosen creature. Each creature must take at least 1 damage and apply any damage resistance or vulnerability of the creature involved after you distribute the damage.
It's a pretty interesting mechanic there. It's similar to, was it the spell Warding Bond that, we've seen used in our games.
So my take is it's your wisdom modifier in creatures, excluding the one you're using it on. So like that's an extra one, if I'm reading that correctly. So that's kind of cool. So starting out, but most clerics, it's not that hard to get a 16 wisdom. So you can distribute it amongst 4 players in your party, especially if it's a devastating attack. You earlier were discussing with me how your character got kind of waylaid away from the rest of the party. Had they been like just close enough to Cleric, that devastating attack of 50 hit points could have been broken up at least, and not quite so bad for you.
Indeed.
So that it's definitely see instances where this would be super useful.
Protective Bond is what you get at 6th level, and this builds on the other one. The bond you forge between people shields them from harm. While either creature chosen from your emboldening bond feature is within 30 feet of each other, the creature can use its reaction to grant resistance to all damage to the other creature when that other creature takes damage. The resistance lasts until the end of the current turn.
This is great. Basically, each round from the attacks of a particular creature, or for that round anyway, you can expend your reaction and grant resistance to all damage. That's definitely not bad. And that would stack with the other ability, the Channel Divinity. So, you could then half that damage for those two anyway if they have their reactions available to them.
Yeah. So it's really cool. This definitely is making a cleric who's got options to use the reactions for. So I dig it.
Next up we have, it's 8th level, so
yay!
Guess what it's going to be. So we got Potent Spellcasting. Add your Wisdom modifier to the damage roll when you deal any cleric cantrip. There's a nice little sidebar here for the rule tip explaining Divine Strike and Potent Spellcaster if you haven't figured that one out yet. They're the two they're always going to use. And it basically goes on to say, hey, if you hit things with a weapon, you will probably have Divine Strike. If not, we'll give you something else.
To me, and I'm not going to go on my typical tirade of how I hate the 8th level cleric abilities, but the fact that they're putting this in there, this is telling me, hey, for every future cleric thing,
it's never going to change.
Get
over it, Ted.
It's never going to change. And as cleric is my favorite class, I hate this ability in every way, shape, or form.
Wait, but there's an asterisk. It says, "Get over it, Nerdarchy's Ted."
It probably does. But what I would love to see them do is to say, you know what? No, screw it. You choose. Give the cleric the choice of whether they want to be a caster or a melee combatant, and give them the ability to say, hey, look, we've got this sucky ability because we couldn't fit anything else in here, and we've been doing this for so long, we're not going to change.
But you can pick at least. That might have even been in the one Unearthed Arcana. Oh. I don't remember because there was a couple ago.
I don't remember seeing anything about that, but I wanted to see that. Going forward, all clerics, you can do this. So if you're playing a cleric and you've got the wrong one because of your subclass, you're going against type, go to your DM and say, hey, look, can I have the other one, and see what they say.
I don't know that.
Enduring Unity at 17th level, the bond you create endures across vast distances. Creatures affected by your emboldening bond feature gains its benefits as well as those as your protective bond feature while they are on the same plane of existence as each other. Additionally, when a creature chosen for your emboldening bond is reduced to 0 hit points, their bonded partner gains the following benefits for 1 minute or until the creature regains at least 1 hit point. The creature has advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. Super awesome. The creature gains resistance to all damage. Super awesome. And as an action, the creature can touch their bonded partner to expend and roll any number of hit dice. Their bonded partner regains a number of hit points equal to that total rolled.
So I must say the best part about this ability is as long as you're on the same plane, you can get the benefits of the ability. Obviously, I don't think it'd be using your reaction to give someone resistance if they're somewhere else where you can't see them or are aware.
Right.
But it's kind of problematic that most of these features rely on that other person going down. Mm-hmm. You have an ability, you can only use it on 2 members of your party, and now one of them has to go down for it to really kick in. As your capstone cleric ability, kind of lame.
All right, so I kind of agree. Your whole goal here is to make someone else better. This is definitely a buff, a buffing cleric. I was going to say it's a buff cleric, but no, you're a caster. You're not supposed to be strong. But what I would add to this to kind of make it a little bit better, stronger, I wouldn't increase the number of times you could use emboldening bond feature. By the way it's written, you can still use the spell slot to gain more, but I would say you are allowed to have more than one. You can use those spell slots to, bond 2 other creatures so that the chances of those bonded creatures have this, the ability to happen more often.
Okay, so you're saying, extend it to more members, maybe with a cost, as a spell slot or whatever.
Yeah, you still have to use the spell slot to use the feature again, because you can only use it once a day.
Yeah.
But if you were to say, all right, well, I'm going to use a first level spell slot, what's a D8, cure wounds, or a, guiding bolt, when I could bond, two other allies together, and now they're going into the combat better because they've got these options and abilities.
Even if it was maxed out by your wisdom modifier, or there's just some things that could have been done, but it's playtest, so, let Wizards of the Coast know how you feel about it. So next up we have Clockwork Soul. A plane of utmost order. Mechanus is a realm of overseen by a godlike entity called Primus, whose actions are inscrutable and calculations vast. You or someone from your lineage might have become entangled in one of the machinations of the leader of the Modrons. Perhaps you were exposed to an artifact created by Primus, or your ancestor took part in the Great Modron March in some way. I love that. The power of the Mechanus can seem too strange and alien to others, but for you, it is part of a vast and glorious system that others can't comprehend. At your option, you can pick from or roll one of the manifestations of Mechanus table to create a way your connection to the plane manifests while you are casting a spell.
I love these things. I love when casters really get into the theme and they adjust their spells to fit who they are and what they are. So the options that they give you: large spectral cogwheels appear hovering behind you. The hands of a clock appear in your eyes. Your skin glows with golden metallic sheen. Your features become unnaturally angular, like geometric objects. Your spellcasting focus takes the form of a miniature spawning stone or other creation of Primus, or the ringing of a clock can be heard by you and those affected by your magic. And as always, you get to choose one of these when you cast a spell, or, if inspiration takes you and you want to go in a different direction. I love that they give these things, for those players who don't already have the knack of, creating it themselves.
Yeah, the first one has a very much League of Legends feel for Zillion, who has powers over time and stuff. And when he uses certain powers, I believe it's his ult, maybe some other ones, a big cog or clock appears behind him. So it just totally makes me think of that.
I dig the one of like the hands of a clock appear in your eyes.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like, oh, well, there's a duration of the spell. That's kind of cool.
Or, a little bit of Raceland in there. He had the hourglass shaped eyes.
Yep.
Why not steal from that or borrow from that, sample from that, whatever you want to call it, right? And you get the hourglasses, but the sand begins running through. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So we also get Clockwork Magic at first level. You learn additional spells when you reach certain levels in this class, as shown in the Clockwork spells table. Each count as a sorcerer spell for you, but doesn't count against the number of spells known. These spells can't be replaced when you gain a level in this class. So at first level, you get Alarm and Protection from Evil and Good.
Third level, Find Traps, Heat Metal.
Fifth level, you get Counterspell and Glyph of Warding.
Seventh level, Arcane Eye and Adaluk's Resilient Sphere.
Ninth level, you get Animate Objects and Wall of Force.
These are really good, and these always bother me a little bit because it's like a big middle finger to the PHB subclasses, because one of the problems with the Sorcerer is
Not enough spells.
Yeah, limited spell choice selection. And here you're going and bringing in these new subclasses, and they just get it.
So I really think that they should expand upon the Sorcerer in the Player's Handbook and just be like, look, here are the spell list for these guys. Sorry, we goofed.
Everybody gets it or nobody gets it.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. So first level, we have Restore the Balance. First level, Clockwork Soul feature. I just love the name of it, too. Your connection to the plane of absolute order allows you to equalize chaotic moments. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you can use your reaction to prevent the roll from being affected by advantage or disadvantage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of once, and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. It's kind of cool. You're basically saying anytime on the field there is advantage or disadvantage, you choose to allow it or not allow it.
It's like, oh, let me adjust things here a little bit. I think it's really cool. We get this at first level, so you're going to get to use it right away. It is using your reaction, so once you get to 5th level and you've got that counter spell, you're going to have to make, choices of like, oh, well, do I counter something, or do I wait to, cancel an advantage, disadvantage, scenario? But again, we're seeing things that are, really being able to dive into action economy, and I dig it. So 6th level, we get Bulwark of Law. You can imbue a creature with a shimmering shield of order. As an action, you can expend 1 to 5 sorcery points to create a magical ward around yourself or another creature you can see within 30 feet. The ward lasts until you finish a long rest or until you use this feature again. The ward is represented by a number of d8s equal to the number of sorcery points spent to create it. When the warded creature takes damage, it can use its reaction to spend a number of those dice, roll them, and reduce the damage taken by the spent dice. So again, we've got the sorcerer who has this mechanic of I've got sorcery points and I need something to do with them. I don't always want to just create spell slots or what have you. So here is a cool mechanic that hasn't really been seen before of like, oh, well, I'm going to use my sorcery points to either aid myself or someone else, super awesome, and being able to soak a little bit of damage with a shield. D8s aren't all that, that minuscule. I love it.
So yeah, it's nothing to sneeze at. 5 to 40 points of damage is significant. You could throw it on your raging barbarian. Chances are he can dole out those d8s and make them really last and not really take any damage and last a long time. Up to 40 points of damage. In theory, you could soak a fireball with a lucky roll or a bad roll from the DM. You might not even have to spend all your d8s. It's very swingy though, I will say, because you could be like, oh, well, it's a weapon attack, so I'll only use 1, and you can roll a 1. Or you could be like, oh, it was a weapon attack. I'll be safe. Let me roll 2. And you get 16, and like trounce it. But yeah, it's cool. It's flavorful, and it's a different ability.
The advantage here is, it's a reaction to spend. The amount of damage that's coming in has already been determined. So you get to see that number before you get to roll the dice. So it is going to be up to your DM because, I don't know how everyone is going to play in a case where resistance counts. So like, all right, in the case of your raging barbarian, all right, a weapon attack comes in, well, does the shield hit it and it's got to take all the damage, or because he's resistant to damage, does that 16 become 8 and then he can roll 2 dice to try and
either way, it still works. Like it hits you, the resistance kicks in, so it's half. So I don't think it matters that much, but it's kind of cool. And like on a side note, right, the idea that you're rolling back time on the wounds or on the damage is kind of cool to me, and that's almost how I would see it.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything about that particular ability, and it's not just you. So that's thumbs up.
Next up, we have Trance of Order at 14th level. You gain the ability to enter a state of clockwork consciousness. As a bonus action, for the next minute, attack rolls against you can't benefit from advantage, and whenever you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. Once you use this action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest or until you expend 5 sorcery points to use it again. I think that is totally worth 5 sorcery points. It's awesome. You can't have advantage. People can't get advantage against you, and you can't roll lower than a 10 on those particular things. Anything that you're good at by the time you're 14th level, you're talking about, I believe it's like a plus 8 or plus 9. So you can't get lower than an 18 or a 19, and that's without any other mitigating factors.
Yeah,
right?
Magic items and excellent stats. So I think this ability is amazing. If anything, I think it's too powerful to just be like, yeah. You can use this in so many different ways.
When you are in an encounter where the enemy has blood frenzy, where they would get advantage, or pack tactics, you'd be like, nope, not this time.
Sorry, man, I'm just that good. Your abilities, just no. But even out of combat, if you really are, you're doing a difficult skill check or a skill challenge of like, okay, well, I've got to use these things and I'm not very good at it. Fine, I'm going to enter this trance and now I can go and do it. Yeah, it's a 14th level ability and not a lot of games get there, but oh man, I think this is amazing. So skills, saving throws,
attacks,
it's just great. But I have to say, like, okay, well, what happens if, you use this in combat? Death saves are saving throws, aren't they?
It is a special kind of saving throw.
So
yes.
Would that mean
you would auto pass?
You would auto pass as long as it's within that minute.
Well, yeah. So you'd have to look at the duration for the next minute. It doesn't say that anything ends it. So like doesn't even technically say like death would particularly end it. Like if you died and came back within a minute, you would still have this thing going on. It also makes me kind of think of the TikTok villain from Batman.
Uh-huh. All right, so then lastly we get the Cavalcade, the Clockwork Cavalcade. 18th level, you summon spirits to restore balance around you. As an action, you summon spirits in a 30-foot cube originating from you. The spirits look like Modrons or other constructs of your choice. The spirits are intangible and invulnerable, work fast and efficiently, and create the following effects within the cube before vanishing. The spirits restore up to 100 hit points, divided as you choose among any number of creatures of your choice in the cube. Any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired. Every spell of 6th level or lower ends on creatures and objects of your choice in the cube. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest or until you expend 7 sorcery points to use it again.
It's a pretty badass ability. 7 sorcery points is a lot, but for what you can do with it, I'm totally down. It's a huge area. 100 points of healing, repairing anything in an area, and also just, shutting down 6th level or lower spells. That's, those 3 things combined is a big deal. Any one of them could be possibly useful, because it's such a big area as well.
So you've got the ability to, restore, structures or small structures. You've got the ability to heal allies, something that sorcerers are not, super known for. Yeah, we do have the one subclass, the Divine Soul, that can do it. So it's not completely alien. But then shutting down spells, whether you're talking about on creatures or objects, so you've got the ability to just be like, hey, look, here's this powerful ward that's in place. Look, guys, I got this covered. Here, get close so we can get some healing at while I do this too. So you can remove an obstacle and heal your allies before you head into the next area. I love it.
Well, and also like that 6th level spell is like the beginning of the Uber spells, right? Like your standard spells where you're going to get multiple, as soon as you get the slots for it, is 5th level. And then at 6th level beyond, it's all like 1 slot, I believe.
6 levels, Globe of Invulnerability.
Which you can turn off. Yeah. So I like it. I think it's good. I mean, it's a very high level ability, 18th level, so it's not a huge deal. Yeah, at 18th level, you should be doing some badass shit. Anyway.
This is clearly badass in my opinion. So did you miss our Unearthed Arcana Part 1 for Subclasses 2020? If so, you can check it out here.
If you're watching this video, you probably want more D&D content in your life. Well, I've got good news for you. Over on our Patreon, we create D&D content every month.
We do monthly giveaways, which our patrons are automatically entered. We do weekly hangouts with our patrons, and so much more.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.